Hello friends, this is Scott again, and Mr. Lincoln, and we're at the project garden today, and we're going to tackle the projects of planting potatoes and onions. So we're going to go from preparing the soil to all the way through the planting process. So stay tuned with us and check it out. I mentioned in the introduction that we're also going to be planting onions today, but I think rather than having an extra long video, I will just talk about potatoes and make a separate onion video. This garden has not been used for several years, and so nothing has been planted. Therefore, there is nutritional value in the soil just from it sitting there. I don't know what the nutritional value is. I have not done a soil test, and nor will I do one this year. I am just going to kind of go for it and add some material to the mix, and a couple amendments that I'll show you shortly, just to kind of get this garden kick-started. I've got a pile of compost, and I've got a pile of old grass clippings that have been composting behind the fence for a few years. I'm just kind of mixing those on, or throwing those on top of the soil just to get us a little bit of organic matter, just to make sure that we have a little bit better soil starting out with than we would have to start with. If we struggle this year with the garden, I will do a soil test next spring, and then we'll make a decision as to exactly what minerals we need to add to the soil to bring it up to par. I don't like soil tests at first. I just like to kind of go for it, just see what happens with the garden. But again, soil tests are great, but I'm a big avid composter, and just adding organic matter, and the soil kind of takes care of itself over time. I'm going to add two amendments to the soil today, and the first is blood meal, which is all nitrogen. It's a 12-0-0 mix. And I'm going to be as scientific as possible in my application. As you can see, I measure very closely to what I put on the soil. No, I just dump it all. Just spread it out on the surface. It's not a big deal. Just mix it up, get it around, try to get a little bit everywhere. Just add a little top dressing and get it to where it needs to have a good coating on the soil. And one little bag does about a row. It's a 5-pound bag, so you have to buy quite a bit. Second amendment, I'm putting bone meal, which is phosphorus. And so because potatoes are a root crop, we need something to help those potatoes grow. And this is a very powdery, dusty stuff, so you might want to wear a mask. I didn't have a mask today, so I'm just going to kind of keep on walking and hope the wind breeze is going the right direction. Pretty simple. Next, I'm just raking the material all into the top layer of the soil. We're going to be planting these potatoes in mounds. We're going to be heaping soil on top of this. So I wanted this mix to be, right at the level of where I'm planting the potatoes, and then we'll be adding soil and compost on top of it. And as the plants grow, we'll continue to heap and mound dirt on top, making sure that the potatoes receive no sunlight, because that turns them green. Now here is an example of a couple seed potatoes. You don't buy them at the grocery store and plant them because they have a sprout inhibitor sprayed on store-bought potatoes. So what you need to do is you need to go to a nursery and buy the seed potatoes. Now you can only find them early in the year, in the spring, and I like to do a double planting. So what I do is I buy extra, and then I save some, and then I plant them mid-summer so that I have kind of a fall crop of baby new potatoes. But as you can see, I'm just kind of throwing these potatoes out. I'm not measuring the distance. It's about 1.5 feet apart is what I'm doing. I think that I bought these at IFA, Intermountain Farmers in Salt Lake City, and I believe I got 8 varieties. And so there's kind of a mixture of white, reds, and I even have some purples in this mix. I don't want to create another row, so I'm just going to kind of have a few extras. I'm just going to plant them, intermix, and if they're a little closer than ideal, it's not a big deal. Just going to kind of spread them out as I go and adjust them and make sure that they're put in a good locations. Now here's an example of a purple potato. You see the sprouts coming out of the eyes of this variety. I like to plant large seed potatoes. You get better potato growth out of it. Next, I start shoveling my compost mix and my lawn clipping mix and cover the potatoes. As I can say, we're hilling the potatoes up, so I'm going to be continuing to add more and more soil as the plants grow. As you see them pop their heads out, as they grow, you just keep heaping more soil and mounding more soil on top, making sure that the potatoes are not affected by the direct contact with the sun. Now, a lot of people will cut up seed potatoes, and as long as you have like 2 or 3 eyes per potato, you could do it that way. It may save you some money. I'm kind of the old school approach where if you plant big seed potatoes or you plant big vegetables in general, you're going to get bigger vegetables out of it. So I just go ahead and there's less chance of rotting, and I just like to use the whole potatoes. Now here I am, I'm trenching on one side, and you won't see me trenching the other side, but I do, and you'll see the end result. I'm just, again, heaping more and more soil up on top over the potatoes. Again, doesn't have to be very deep. I only want the potatoes buried maybe 3 or 4 inches at this point, just to keep the sun off of them and let them get established, so that when they start to sprout, I will continue to add soil. As you can see on this side, I did the other side already. And I'm adding more soil on top, making sure that I do have a good 3 or 4 inches of soil. I probably missed some spots where I didn't quite get enough soil in the potatoes, so I'm just making sure as I go through. Now, potatoes are an easy crop to grow. Another video I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to grow potatoes out of containers, and I have a special plastic bin that I use at my house. That'll be the subject of another video here in the near future. I find that to be the easiest way to grow potatoes is in those above ground containers. The biggest reason is that you can just open those containers and hand harvest the potatoes. Whereas when you're planting in ground like I am here, every time you shove the shovel into the soil, you have the chance of cutting the potatoes or damaging the potatoes. And when you're using containers, you tend to you don't have any risk of that. You just open them up and pull the potatoes out. And if you want to just pull a few, you can always reseal it and keep them growing. So as you see here, I missed a few. I'm shoving them back in. I'm raking the soil just to make sure that I get a little bit of a level soil, again, with the heaping area. No big deal. Just want to make sure that I got everything covered. And as I'm going through here, I'm seeing some potatoes that are popping out that I'm not doing a very good job burying. So I'm going to shove those down in, cover them up, and then you will see me continue to add some soil here in a moment, just to make sure that I have enough on there. And it's no harm, no foul. If I find one pop up later, not covered, I'll just cover it up then. It's not a big deal. What you don't want is you don't want your new potatoes that are growing underneath to be hit by the sun, because therefore they'll turn green, and that's kind of a toxic coating on the skins. And I like to eat the skins of potatoes, so we don't want to have the sun touch our potatoes. But again, we're just mounding it up a little bit here, a little bit there. Not a huge deal. As the plants do sprout and come up, you'll see exactly where they're at, and you just keep adding more and more soil. And I'll be adding it from the trenches probably, because this compost pile and the lawn compost pile are going to be used to plant other vegetables like the onions that I'm going to talk about in my next video. But while I have the material here, I'm going to use it. Well, Mr. Lincoln and I have had a great time at the project garden today, planting onions and potatoes. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this content and would like to follow me on my journey to live my best rural life in the city, please subscribe to my channel, like, and share. Thank you.